Hello, I am OTM Speaks. If you are new here, please like, subscribe, share. This is part two to how or the only way Kamala can beat Donald Trump. So I did my last video. If you have not seen that one, please go back and check that one out. The title is the same, The Only Way Kamala Can Beat Donald Trump, part one. This is part two. And I would like to ask you a question. Have you heard of Triple E? Not Triple H, the wrestler, Triple E. Have you heard of that? The odds are, if you are not from Boston, Massachusetts, you have not heard of this. It's a very, very obscure illness that's going around right now. Let's see what it is, shall we?
News from Oxford. Officials at a Board of Health meeting have approved a recommendation to issue a 6 p.m. curfew to keep residents safe from high levels of Triple E. People at that meeting not happy.
Please don't do this to our kids.
800 people signed a petition.
Do you have?
Officials approving the recommendation say they aren't banning people from going outside, but instead putting safety measures in place. They suggest the 6 p.m. curfew lasts until September 30th, and starting October 1st, the curfew will shift to 5 p.m. and last until the very first frost. Oxford is one of 4 towns at critical risk for Triple E right now. Douglas, Sutton, and Webster are also listed as critical in the state. People who attended the meeting believe the move will hurt after-school activities, including sports.
We have probably well over 150 people that are here to stand up for their kids, to make the parents, have their own decision, makes their decisions.
Last week, an Oxford man in his 80s tested positive for Triple E, the first such case since 2020. We spoke with the Department of Public Health on what people should do if they live in an area with high risk levels of Triple E.
In areas of high and critical risk, we really want people to be thoughtful about when they time their outdoor activities. Mosquito activity, feeding activity really peaks at dusk and dawn.
And you can see the latest state map to see the risk level in your community. We have it posted on the More section of Boston25news.com.
All right. Have you heard about this? We heard a lot of people talk about the demic, the period of the jab, the COVID era, and a lot of people were saying this is a test. Well, it was a successful test, if you remember what happened in the election. I believe all those laws that were passed to help people vote, to make it easier to vote from home, also made it easier to have dead people, illegals, and anyone else vote, including counting. But if you really think about this, why now? You heard they said the first case was in 2020. One guy got it, and all of a sudden they're giving curfews to people in Boston or Oxford, wherever that is. I don't know exactly where that is. But just think about that for a second and understand what they're doing. This is a test. It's a clear test. It's a blue area of the country, and they want to see if they can get away with it again. That's what it seems like to me. I don't know what Triple E is. Do you know what E is? This is Triple E. Eastern equine encephalitis. The key points of this article, this is the CDC website, by the way. The key points of this article, Eastern equine encephalitis is caused by a virus spread to people through the bite of an infected mosquito. It is rare, but serious. Serious enough to cause curfews because mosquitoes only come out at night, right? People living in areas where Triple E virus circulates should protect themselves by preventing mosquito bites. How do you prevent a mosquito from biting you? You put spray on. I've always found that actually attracts them, then they bite you, then it kills them. But I haven't been bitten by a mosquito in 20 years. They don't like they no longer like my blood. Triple E virus is spread to people by the bite of an infected mosquito. Only a few cases are reported in the United States each year. Most cases occur in eastern or Gulf Coast states. Although rare, Triple E is very serious. 30% of the people with triple E die. Oh, this is scary. This is scary enough to cause a curfew. We're not gonna make you guys stay home. We're not gonna lock you up like we did before. We're not gonna shut everything down. But at dawn and at dusk, you guys need to get inside the house. Sounds scary to you? Sounds really weird. The timing of this is very weird considering nobody gets it. Let's see. Many survivors have ongoing neurological problems. Neurological? This is the CDC website? It is. Okay. Symptoms of triple E can include fever, headache, vomiting, diarrhea, seizures, behavioral changes, and drowsiness. I don't know if a lot of people have been getting sick lately. I wonder if it's triple E. How do you determine if it's triple E? There are no vaccines yet. To prevent, there are no vaccines to prevent or medicines to treat triple E. You can reduce the risk of infection of triple E virus by preventing mosquito bites. Does it sound weird to you guys? Why only in Boston are they creating curfews? Does this even make sense to you guys? Let's think about it. Again, the title of this this video is The Only Way Kamala Can Beat Trump Part 2. Do a rerun, do a replay of what they did in 2020. Lock people in their homes. Not in this case, don't lock everyone up. But right when it's time to vote, right before the polls end, you got to be inside the house. I think this is leading somewhere. I think it's weird. They keep talking about things that are weird, but then they do weird things like this. The people are outraged saying, hey, we can't do this again. We shouldn't do this again. This is ridiculous. But what are they doing? Oh, don't worry. Your kids can still go out and play. Just make sure they stay out during the hottest time of day. Make sure they do everything as long as just in the daytime. Don't come out too early and don't be out too late. It's not a big, what's the big deal? It's just going to affect after school activities. This is a way that Kamala can win. This is a more serious way, in my opinion, that Kamala can win than the first video. The first video is very serious, don't get me wrong, but I think that one would backfire. Again, if you haven't seen that one, go back and watch that one. That's a really good one. But this one here, we've seen this game before. This one here is a little bit more doable. Because then they can start their whole mail-in nonsense garbage. They can repass laws in blue states to suppress, especially the states that are up for contention right now. This one is very serious. I want you to think about what they were saying. Triple E. Dangerous. You guys got to stay in the house. You just can't. If it rains, oh my goodness. You really should stay in if it rains. Is it going to rain in the fall? Yes, but stay in. Please, stay in. Once that humidity hits, you know those mosquitoes come out. This is what we're doing? I don't know. This is definitely a way that Kamala can win. The most realistic way that she can win, because she's not going to get the votes. She's just not. She's not. But this one here, Triple E. If you're new here, like, subscribe, share. I want to be the trusted source of things that you haven't heard or that you may not be aware that's coming. This is one of those things that's coming. Again, part 1 was also one of those things that's coming that you may not be aware of. This one here is very likely coming, and you may not be aware of it, especially if you're on the East Coast. But you know what can always happen is George Bush Airport, we received a case of somebody with Triple E. You guys may want to start locking down. Not all day, of course. Not all day. No. You can still work. You can still do things. Just in the morning, in the evening, or if it rains, of course. If it rains, you don't want to be outside. There's so many mosquitoes. So many mosquitoes.